Assalamu alaikum, dear sisters in Islam. Today we begin our fourth lesson of Allah's mighty names, His beautiful names, Asma Allah al-Husna. In today's lesson, we'll be studying Surah Anaam, verse 102. Please get your notebooks and pens or pencils ready, and I'm asking you to review what you've already studied with me in the first three lessons, because today some of the words will be repeated, and inshallah, you'll feel so proud that you are recognizing them and that you're knowing them. The two names of Allah that we will have in this verse, 102, are Rabb and Wakeel. Two more of Allah's names from Asma Allah al-Husna, Rabb and Wakeel. We will begin by reading the verse. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ذلكم الله ربكم لا إله إلا هو خالق كل شيء فاعبدوه وهو على كل شيء وكيل. It's really very important that you realize that you are going to know 3 or 4 of the words in this verse from the previous verses that we've studied together. In the beginning, Allah says, ذَلِكُمْ اللَّهُ رَبُّكُمْ. Do you recall last week we had ذَلِكَ? ذَلِكَ? And I said it's referring to what came before. ذَلِكَ. This week we have ذَلِكُمْ. And it is also referring to what came before, but is in the plural. Ka is you singular, kum is you plural. ذَلِكُمْ اللَّهُ رَبُّكُمْ. رَبُّكُمْ. Rabb is a very mighty word because it comes in the beginning of Surah Al-Fatiha. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. The Rabb is your Lord. It's translated in most of the English actually in all of the English translations as Lord. However, that's not going to really tell you much, because when you read a translation and you read the word Lord, you think, we're not in the Middle Ages. We're not in a feudal system. There's no Lord of the Manor. And I certainly don't follow any other systems where they give titles and call people Lord. In America, we've never done that. Other places in Europe have. So we will discuss really the real meaning of Rabb, and you will see that it will become clear to you without having to say Lord. ذَلِكُمْ اللَّهُ رَبُّكُمْ. Your Lord is Allah, and He is Rabb. So the word Allah is the mightiest name, and the word Allah encompasses all of the other names. And if you study Tawheed, you will learn about Uluhiyya and Rububiyyah. It's part of Asma Allah al-Husna. Quickly and briefly, I will just tell you that the Uluhiyya has to do with worshiping Allah. In other words, what you do for Allah is you isolate Allah only in your worship. You don't include saints or any other humans or institutions or any other concepts. It's only Allah. Uluhiyya, from the word Allah. Now, Rububiyyah is what Allah does for you, in that He is your Rabb. So I will return back now to our ayah that we're studying. And if you care to, in addition to what you're learning with me now, you may study Tawheed And I recommend that you do if you have the time. And at least you can get the headliners of Tawheed, which is Uluhiyya, Rububiyyah. And with me, we're doing Asma Allah. And the reason is many, many, many lessons can be found on YouTube in regarding Tawheed. And you can easily go through an hour or two and you will understand the Uluhiyya and Rububiyyah very well, inshallah. Now, after Allah tells us that He is our Rabb, He says in the ayah, La ilaha illahu. La ilaha means there's no other object of worship, no false gods, no partner gods, nothing. Ila hu. Now, ila means except. And of course, ilahu means except Him. And then He reminds us, khaliqu kulli shay. Yes, He is the creator of everything. And that is why immediately, as you know, khaliqu kulli shay, we had this before. He is the creator, khaliq kulli shay, of everything. Remember? In our first couple of lessons, we had it. And here, when He tells us this, He says, fa'abudu. So worship Him. Fa'abudu. Fa, remember I said it comes after something's been mentioned, and the fa means so. So, worship Him. ذَلِكُمَ اللَّهُ رَبُّكُمْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُوَ خَالِقُ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ فَاعْبُدُوهُ. He created everything. So, فَاعْبُدُوهُ. Worship Him. وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ وَكِيلٌ. And He is on, ala here would mean concerning, on kulli shay'in wakeel. Now, wakeel is one of the words we're going to study tonight along with Rabb. And it is also a word that it's translated as the disposer of your affairs. Close enough in English, but that's why you're going to learn Arabic. That's why you're going to concentrate first on your letters, recognize them in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end, and when they're alone. Without doing this first, really, there's no going any further. And I mentioned to you that you must do this. If you want to be a correct student of knowledge, letters come first. And I know it seems really daunting, and sometimes it seems a little bit boring that you're just going over all these letters. You feel maybe like you're in the first grade. And also it's difficult a bit because, you're writing from right to left. So I do understand, and I do remember doing this. It was about 35 years ago when I was doing this, or more. I think more. And I do recall that it was a bit taxing, shall we say. Not truly difficult, but it was a challenge in that it was, in the opposite direction. The letters were taking different forms. But I know you can do it because many people have studied Arabic and they have done it. So you have to get over this hurdle. And then when you get over this hurdle, you come to the wonderful realization that you can read. So let's show Rabbukum first. ذَلِكُمْ اللَّهُ رَبُّكُمْ. Rabbukum. Now I put Rabbukum on the top because that's the word we have in our ayah. And I put Rabb on the bottom. So you can really notice here, in case anyone isn't really familiar with your struggle, you can see that the ra is the same. This ra and this ra. Because it's alone. And when the letters are alone, they don't change. They're not connected to anything. So here we have ra, b, k, m. Rabbukum. But here we have Rabb. So the bet here is alone. When it's connected, it just looks like this little line with a dot under it because it's connected to ke. So Rabbukum and then Rabb alone. We'll use Lord for now, just until we move on to our better explanation when we're finished doing the writing part. La ilaha. La ilaha. In the verse it says, La ilaha illahu. Illahu. Let's concentrate on La ilaha first. La ilaha begins with La. La. Lam. And then Aleph, which is the stick. It's slanted here. Here it's not slanted. Here it's a straight stick. Ilah. The reason why it's slanted is that's the way it's written. I can't give you more of an explanation than that. It always looks like this when it is meaning la, negating. It's a negative particle negating something. Here it's saying la ilaha, no other object of worship. Now, ilaha sometimes is used and translated as a god. One of the many various and sundry false gods that people worship, whether they be in a religious sense or just in obeying and fearing and loving, and all the reasons we do things should only be for Allah. It shouldn't be for many other objects of worship, which is what ilah is. So remember, Allah is not ilah in the sense of Allah is the one and only. And this would be something that could be used for any other object of worship. So la ilaha means no false entities, false gods, or false whatever you might put up on a pedestal. Ila huwa. Ila means except, huwa, except he. Remember we had wahuwa before? Remember? I'm pulling it out for you just to remind you. Remember in the beginning we had wahuwa and he? Remember it was wahuwa ala kulli shay'in qadir? And he? That was in our first couple of lessons. Now it's ilahuwa. Ilahuwa. فَعَبُدُوا وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ وَكِيلٌ. Here is Wakeel. Wakeel is another name for Allah. Wa, ke, kaf, E, this is a ya with the two dots. L, lam. Wakeel. Wakeel. So, now that we know our letters and we recognize them, and we know the verse, and we will review it, inshallah, as I said, a half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening, you should be studying, reading Quran, in English, of course. I know you can't read it in Arabic yet, so read it in the morning and in the evening. Read it at Fajr and read it at night. It's a wonderful way to close your evening. And then go over your lessons. These lessons are very brief, and I made them very brief deliberately so that you could continually repeat them. So I'm reminding you again now to get out your notebook and write what you can and go over the concepts that we just learned, and I will go over them with you to make sure that we're getting exactly what we need to have tonight. We're now reviewing our words. We're reviewing dalikum, and we recall last week was dalika, referring to what was coming previously. La is the negative. Ila, except. Ila huwa, except he. Khaliqu kulli shay. He created everything. Fa'abudu. Fa'abudu. Here in the fa'abudu, you will notice there's a little round circle, and I didn't write it for you deliberately this week because we're going to learn more about this in the next lesson. But that small little circle is him. Remember, it was huwa for the subject, he, and then him or his, actually used for his as well. That little round circle. Fa'abudu. Now let's begin to learn about the Rabb. The Rabb is the caretaker and the arranger of all of your affairs, bestowing upon you everything you need to live. Everything and anything. Your health, your wealth, your safety, your family, your job, your friends. This all comes from the Rabb. Everything you have comes from the Rabb. Now, the Rabb is not just a caretaker and an arranger of your affairs. The Rabb, we have a word in Arabic, tarbiyah, and literally it's what they use when they describe the Ministry of Education. They say, Wizarat Tarbiyah wa Ta'aleem. They care for you and they mold and shape you, tarbiyah, in a sense of teaching you morals, teaching you the way you should behave with good manners. And they do it by degrees, not all at once, slowly, one by one. In school, it's first grade, second grade, third grade, until you graduate, and you're supposed to be, by that time, a correct, well-functioning, proper semi-adult. Let's say by the time you're 18, you would be considered grown. Because you had tarbiyah, you had the Rabb taking care of you. However, the real Rabb never falters and never makes mistakes. Certainly, in all school systems, they say they do tarbiyah, but they make many mistakes, and they don't always succeed in what they set out to do. Allah always succeeds in everything he does. This word Rabb, it means to correct something and to care for it. In Arabic, we say islah, ra'aya, qiyamun alayh. Making it upright, trying to stabilize this human and his affairs, or her affairs, is the job of the Rabb. Rabb al-Alameen. We remind ourselves that the only Rabb is Allah. Our second word is Wakeel. وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ وَكِيلٌ. You remember kulli shay'in. Kulli shay'in is everything. Wakeel, they tell you in English, whoever they are, I suppose, the translators, they do their best. But that's why you've heard, how many times have you heard, oh, it doesn't come close to the Arabic. It's such a poor attempt. But I wouldn't call it a poor attempt because that's how I became Muslim, by reading the English Quran. Helped me a lot. And I think you can get quite a bit out of it. But it's not as good as the original Arabic. It's not as deep. It's not as explicit as the original Arabic. So if you're really wanting to know about Allah and you're really wanting to improve your Islam, be as best that you can be, I do recommend that you study Arabic. And the more you learn Arabic, the more you learn about Allah in the deepest sense of the most all-encompassing descriptions that he gives of himself. Now, this word Wakeel is a perfect example. When you feel you're not capable of completing a task, oftentimes this word is used in business, in law. You need a lawyer, or you're trying to establish yourself and you don't have a lot of expertise. You give your affairs over to someone who's better than you. And you allow this person to sign papers for you and to negotiate for you. This is your wakeel. Well, as humans, we all need the wakeel, because the wakeel, the words wakala necessitates that someone is deficient. Someone needs someone because they're weak. They're at fault. They're faulty. And they know they are. And they don't presume that they're able to do things completely on their own. So for us as humans, we need the wakeel. The wakeel is Allah, because he is the one that can truly dispose of our affairs better than we could ever dispose of our affairs ourselves. However, we try, we continually do our best, and this is why I stress, and I've often said, Islam is not some sort of a passive, hopeless system that it's been accused of being by those who don't know, or those who lie. We have many of both trying to misrepresent Islam. In Islam, we do our best. We give our utmost effort. We really make jihad. Jihad means to exert your utmost effort to the point of exhaustion. That's how we're supposed to conduct ourselves. Not halfway, not the easy way. We're supposed to go forth and do our very level best, but at all times knowing that the wakeel has a plan. And perhaps the plan of the wakeel may not be what you planned. And that's why in Islam, when things turn out differently than we set out, or we expected, or that we wanted, we have to istaslim. We have to be Muslim and say, Allahu yaf'al ma yasha. Allah does what he wills. He does what he wills. He does what he wants. Huwa al-Wakeel. He's the one that disposes of our affairs. And we know that we probably should have been aware of how much we needed him, and that we shouldn't be so very competent, so very self-righteous, that we are all that, let's say in the modern way of speaking. You're not all that. You are actually a human, and that necessitates you have deficiencies. And perhaps you like to deny it or ignore it, but you have many deficiencies. Allah knows that, and Allah is all merciful, and he will always be there as your wakeel, doing what's best for you at all times, and he does it for all creation, everywhere, and he's the only one that can do it. So this behavior of our knowing this, it's called tawakkul. You hear people say, tawakkul ala Allah. Leave it to Allah. He will dispose of your affairs. This concept of tawakkul is really the basis of our religion, of our deen, is tawakkul ala Allah. With that, you will never be afraid. You will never be sad. You will never regret, Because with true tawakkul ala Allah, if you take Allah as your wakeel, you'll always feel safe because you know Allah does not have any deficiencies. He does not have any types of handicap. In other words, perhaps I might be able to function in an academic setting, as a teacher, as a researcher. We might say, that's my strong suit. But I could not ever do many other types of things that are very necessary in life. Handle finances, be a type of an investor that knows how to, let's say, make my money grow. Even in a halal way, I just don't have that skill. I think really if you stop and think about your own inadequacies and you're honest with yourself, you should be so thankful that tonight you learned the meaning of al-Wakeel. Allah will take care of things, and He will do it perfectly because He's your Rabb. Inshallah, I've given you some good news about Asma al-Husna, and there are many, many, many more to come. And inshallah, you'll stay with me and you'll review. Remember, we said we must review. And till we meet again, I leave you in Allah's protection, His thorough mercy and protection. Huwa al-Rabb, Huwa al-Wakeel. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.